Alright, welcome to my first review of a Sonic the Hedgehog comic. This is Sonic the Hedgehog 30th Anniversary Special. A very long comic here. A celebration of the character's 30th anniversary. And we have got a great cover here. It is not the main cover for the issue, but it should have been. This is by Patrick Spaziante, who is... I have been trying to think of a comparison for him. He's kind of the Jim Lawson of Sonic. Patrick Spaziante wasn't the first artist to draw Sonic comics, but he came along early on and he really refined it. And he became the obvious one who set the example for everything that followed. Amazing cover here though. Sonic up front, and then some of the other characters orbiting the background. Amy, Fang, Tails, Metal Sonic, Dr. Robotnik, Knuckles. Really, the perfect cover for this issue and this story. I have this variant of it too. This is a Mark Hughes cover. I don't have much to say about it beyond that it is based on an odd bit of box art for a Sonic game. I think a version of the original game for Mega Drive. Mark Hughes does covers often in the vein of the odd game cover art. Most my Sonic comic collection is Mark Hughes covers. Back to what I will call the main version. And here is our credits page. And you can see thumbnails of all the available covers. The main story in this, there's two backup stories that I am likely not going to have time to fit in. The main story is written by Ian Flynn, with art primarily by Aaron Hammerstrom, but with some pages contributed by Thomas Rothlisberger and Tracy Yardley. These are all names a reader of Sonic is probably familiar with. But for newbies, I will explain Ian Flynn, because I think I want to. He has been writing Sonic since 2006, back when it was an Archie comic. Before that, he had written a long-running Sonic fan comic, and his life's dream was to write actual Sonic comics. I am trying to avoid getting into the crazy story of the out-and-out villain who wrote Sonic before Ian Flynn, and how they continued to maliciously try to derail and destroy the comic and Ian Flynn's livelihood. And the bizarre outcome where they impossibly succeeded to the degree that Sega pulled the license from Archie and the comic ended forever. But it is a happy story, because even though the bad guy won, in the end IDW got the license. And they just got Ian Flynn back to write, and many of the same artists that worked on Sonic at Archie, like Tracy Yardley and Adam Bryce Thomas. So Sonic, I am assuming you know Sonic. Blue hedgehog that runs fast from video games. This story is called Seasons of Chaos, and it involves Sonic and his friends Amy and Tails, as seen here, having themselves a fairly generic but very accessible to new readers adventure. You see, Metal Sonic, one of Robotnik's evil creations, steals a Chaos Emerald. They are the magic MacGuffins that you get in the game by completing the special stages. And then later, having them all lets you transform into Super Sonic. Amy, I need a boost. You are a wonderful person and people say nice things about you. Vertically. Oh, my mistake. Classic jokes, proper comedy. Don't have that anymore, do we? Now we have got Knuckles and we are in Mushroom L. I point that out because it's just about the only zone in this comic that I recognise. Knuckles is many people's favourite Sonic character. He is guardian of the Chaos Emeralds. And I will surely talk about him more when or if I, review the Knuckles 30th anniversary special I have. Though mine is the Mark Hughes cover, not the Aaron Hammerstrom one you see in here. This comic mostly does a great job of including recognisable characters, but Metal Knuckles is the standout as the one I groaned a bit at. It seems a bit lazy, but Metal Knuckles apparently did come from Sonic R. He's just kinda a lazy retread of Metal Sonic. Metal Knuckles stole another emerald, and so now the holy trinity of Sonic, Tails and Knuckles, they are embarking on a quest to retrieve the stolen emeralds. They ditch Amy. They leave Amy behind. But poor Amy isn't going to call it quits. She goes off on her own to try and prove herself. She encounters two more members of the extended Sonic the Hedgehog cast. Mighty, the armadillo, and Ray, the flying squirrel. It's okay if you have never seen these guys before. I knew Mighty, but I only found out about Ray when he was in Sonic Mania 8 years ago. They were apparently very early characters in Sonic lore. They were in Sonic Arcade, or Sega Sonic Arcade, one of the first spin-off games. And over here is Doll Tails. At the bottom, watching them in secret. Doll Tails is from Sonic R as well, but it is best known as one of the biggest subjects for creepypastas. There is Metal Sonic, there is Metal Knuckles, and there is no Metal Tails. There's instead this haunted looking doll that looks vaguely like Tails. One thing I absolutely adore is how the comics adapt the levels. I don't even know this level, Summer Falls Zone. I'm guessing it's from a Game Boy Advance game or something. But, well, there's another example later on in this. But you can see here how they incorporate the 2D side-scroll and platformer appearance into the comic. I also want to take a separate moment to announce the colours in Sonic comics are wonderful. It is appropriately colourful, but it's also, compared to most other things on the shelves at the time, nice to look at. The colours for this are by Reggie Graham, who also inks the first 2/3. No Gigi Dutre this time, but I am sure they will appear at some point in a future Sonic review. Maybe when I look at a comic to explain these critters, and critter is maybe apt for Fang. We have another trio of anthropomorphic characters here. If you are worrying that this is getting too confusing, that there's too many characters, and you only know the Trinity, this is almost the cut-off point for the story. This is the last batch of characters we really introduce for this. We have Fang the Hunter. Fang is a treasure hunting rogue, and he is joined by his pals, Bark on the left and Bean on the right. The three come from spin-off games, but I will save explaining them for when I look at the Fang the Hunter miniseries, which features all three of them. They are set up incredibly well in this. Very simple, and it is great for it. Bark, he is a polar bear. He's actually a kind-hearted giant who doesn't, or almost never, speaks. He's also, of the Sonic characters, one of the top fighters, which ties into his origin being that he is from a fighting game. Here we get to see him fight Knuckles, whereas Bean is a duck who is like a hyperactive kid that likes blowing shit up. And then there is Fang, and Fang is all about the riches. He is easily distracted by shiny things. I think that's even a joke I saw in one of these. Dangle something shiny in front of him, and that is all he is interested in. He is trying to steal another emerald. And this whole sequence with them, it is a nice, fun action scene that maybe will intrigue you enough to want to know more about Fang or Bark or Bean. And here is that fight. Bark versus Knuckles. The thing here is Bark is capable of fighting Knuckles. Bark is maybe even capable of beating Knuckles. They eventually lose the emerald during their scuffles, but it amusingly falls on Mighty the Armadillo's head. Amy, Mighty and Ray are in separate pursuit of the emeralds, and there is Dull Tails again at the bottom, giving all the children nightmares. Here is our villain, and I love this aspect of the story. Robotnik is Sonic's arch nemesis. I am assuming that is another thing you know, but if you didn't, well, we all know Robotnik is his main enemy. In Japan he is called Eggman, or Dr. Eggman, but they changed his name to Ivo Robotnik in the West because it was 1991 and America couldn't think of anything scarier to a general audience than a name that sounds straight from the Soviet Union. So then we continue along with, we have more of that game level display. Forgot about this one. I appreciate it a lot. Again, I don't know this level either. Autumn Forest Zone. Mushroom Hill Zone was the only one I recognised. So it's not member berries tickling my nostalgia bone. I just think it is a very clever and stylish even way to set up a scene or show a scene in a Sonic comic, evoking the games themselves. They catch up with Metal Sonic and then Robotnik as well. Meanwhile, Fang's group bump into Amy's squad, and we have another fight of sorts. But one of the little character details is that Bark has a soft spot for Amy. I've seen this in a few of these. Bark and Amy are almost like a ship. I'm sure there's some people who probably do ship them. But yeah, the idea is that Bark isn't a bad guy. He's just friends with Bean. And Bean gets him into trouble and gets him into all these scrapes because Bean wants to blow shit up. What happens eventually is all these characters end up at the same place. They are all together with Robotnik. I really like the character selection in this story. It's mostly all the guys from the Yard games or the earliest games. The only ones maybe missing from the mix are Team Chaotix, but I do understand that 3 more characters would be the tipping point. That would be too many for most people. Let's take a detour to Exposition Theatre. The twist is that Robotnik isn't our villain. He has been ousted by one of his robots, one of his Eggman robots. And it is that robot which is seeking the emeralds for itself. And so we have all our characters, heroes and villains alike, teaming up to take down the bad guy. Winter Caverns Zone, another level I was unaware of, but it looks a lot like Ice Cap Zone. And it is here where we have the page that rested in my mind for all this time between reading this and rereading this. 3 panels here showing the characters exploring the level. We have like obstacles and opponents that come from that level. It's great, I love it. Wonderful artistic shit. Next page. There is a nice shot up top there of most of the characters. And we have another jokey bit here where Tails asks Robotnik why, instead of Metal Tails, he made this terrifying doll. The guys eventually get into the fortress of our villain. This is where I explain them and what is great about them. This is King Eggman, a boss from Sonic Mania. Sonic Mania, I mentioned it earlier, it was a game from 2017. It was It started as a fan-made project, but wound up an official release. Sonic Mania revitalised a lot of interest in Sonic and add Sonic stuff. Mighty and Ray made a big return in the game after years of not really appearing in games. Fang, Bean and Bark likewise had cameo appearances. It was bringing to people's attention these had forgotten about Sonic characters. But it wasn't all add stuff is new again, because we had a set of villains, new villains, Eggman robots that had evolved. There was like a ninja one, that was mint. There was a cop one, magician Eggman, that was a good one too. The main one, the final boss, sort of, was King Eggman, which is what we have in this comic. King Eggman. We get to see the characters fight, or try to fight, King Eggman. And it's just, I think it is so good that the comics incorporated King Eggman. And the thing is, King Eggman is great in a way. Sonic has a tendency to, as an IP, maybe run dry or get repetitive, because most of the time it boils down to Sonic versus Robotnik. It's good to see these robots get further use. They neatly give Sonic 5 other major antagonists. And King Eggman and the other ones, they come from a game that people liked. I just appreciated seeing how something like Sonic Mania affected Sonic comics for the better. I wanted to try and avoid it, but the Archie stuff, even in Flynn's work, the Archie comic was forever marred by that crackpot from before Flynn. The chief problem, is that they were fixated on the Nutter. He was obsessed with the cartoon, the Sally Acorn one. So rather than any of the games, the majority of Archie's Sonic catalogue is, in essence, a continuation of a cancelled cartoon from the early 90s. When you get to like 2014 and you're doing Sonic the Hedgehog comics where the main continuity all stems from a cartoon that hasn't been on the air for 20 years, it's very silly. Says the man collecting Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Saturday Morning Adventures. The other thing is, God, yeah, I didn't want to go down this route. It's shit. That cartoon, the Sonic one, Sat AM, it's not good. It's a really generic cartoon that they slapped Sonic's name on. It's like the Animal Freedom Fighter show with Sonic and a couple of things from the game, but it's not Sonic. The Archie comics were Sat AM, and then they would throw a few bones and include something from a recent game, but the priority was always on Sat AM shit and stuff extrapolated from Sat AM shit. Well, that is all the degenerate furry twats that want to perform statutory rape on Sally Acorn alienated forever. What will I ever do without that crowd watching my videos? IDW don't have any of that, and they're doing fine with Sonic the Hedgehog. IDW rebooted it. They have a Sonic universe that is almost purely in line with games, as it should be, because Sonic the Hedgehog is mainly a video game character. There's absolutely no Sat AM shit, none of the Archie original characters, though original should be in quotation marks. Most of them were created by a weird-eyed man, and they amount to Knuckles' long-lost uncle with a moustache, or Knuckles' second cousin with an eye patch. Right now, though, the adventure is over, and we say goodbye to our characters. Fang and company, and then after them, we say goodbye to Mighty and Ray. Goodbye, Mighty and Ray. And in the end, Sonic couldn't have done it without Amy. It is awesome, on top of being pleasant to read. I would recommend this if you are at all considering checking out Sonic comics. The story isn't complicated. It gives a great sample of a variety of characters. And the best thing is that it makes you feel less miserable. Be it just the art, or the characters being nice to each other, or the lack of negativity. Sorry about mentioning Sat AM and the Archie comics. I wanted to keep that positive attitude for this video, but it came up in relation to what I wanted to say was good. Now, for Sonic, right, there's 7 Chaos Emeralds, except in Sonic 1, where there was 6, and Sonic Fighters, where there was 8. But 7 Chaos Emeralds. So, what do you think my rating for this will be?